Recently, Nature magazine, which along with Science magazine is among scholars considered to be the world's most prestigious scientific journals, Nature magazine, along with New Scientist magazine, published a startling article. Now, these two articles published were written by different research committees, but they arrived at the same conclusion. They were studying the history of anthropology and the genetics involved, and they came to the conclusion that there probably are no atheists. That's right. Now, the evolutionary community and atheists in general say, well, we wonder if there is a God. Well, let's turn the tables a bit. Science has found that there probably are no atheists, that is, originally. You see, they found and published from two different vantage points that all members of the human race who were sampled, all members of the human race from various climes, various cultures, begin with a knowledge that there is a creator. And an assumption that there is. In fact, these articles admitted that it's probably impossible to expunge the concept of there being a God from the very psyche of man. Now, there are individuals who sear their conscience. There are individuals who become atheist, at least to a degree. But if you question them very closely, many of them say, well, I consider atheism, but I'm not sure there's not a God, but I just act as if there is not a God. In fact, some of the world's leading atheists and evolutionary scholars admitted that they became atheist and became evolutionist not because there was evidence that there was no God, not because there was evidence that evolution was true, but they needed the assumption that there was no God. They needed the assumption that evolution was true in order to justify their sensual mores. their free sex episodes, their lack of strict morality. They wanted to write their own moral code and not have a God imposing his code upon them. Now that's astounding. In my own experience as a child, I did not grow up in a Christian home. I did not grow up in a home where the Bible was read. The name of God was used in cursing periodically, and that's about all I knew about God. I remember visiting my Aunt Claudia, and she said, "Have you ever read the Bible?" "What's the Bible?" She said, "Do you know who Jesus is?" I said, "Who's Jesus?" And I was a pretty good-sized boy. I had no idea. Yet, I remember as a child, without having read the Bible, without having the message of Jesus Christ, without having the gospel story, without the Christmas or Easter stories, I remember as a child looking at a sunset, and I knew there was a God.
Nice story. Gotcha.
But I also knew simultaneously, innately, that I had no fellowship with him. I didn't know who he was. That it's probably impossible to expunge the concept of there being a God from the very psyche of man. And looking at that sunset, I knew I was a sinner. How did I know that? The Spirit of God spoke to my heart. No one told me I was a sinner boy. In fact, we now have learned that all people know 5 things. Number 1, all cultures know that there is a God, but they have no fellowship with him. They know there's life after death, but they're not sure where it is. They know that they have sinned, but they have no fellowship from that sin. They know there's a judgment, and they have no hope in it. And they know there is death, and they fear it. All people know this innately. It's genetically programmed into the very structure of mankind. There is a God, but I don't think there are any atheists around.
Citation needed.